The doctor slid the scan across the desk without making eye contact. "Your heart is that of a 75-year-old man," he said. "And I'm being generous." Michael stared at the image, trying to process what he was seeing. At 52, he'd just been told he had maybe 5 years left. 10 if he was lucky. The most disturbing part? He'd had no symptoms. No chest pain. No shortness of breath. Nothing but a routine checkup that revealed his coronary arteries were 82% blocked. Surgery was scheduled for the following week. But the night before the procedure, something happened that would change everything, and challenge what his cardiologist had believed possible for 30 years of practice. Most people think heart disease announces itself with dramatic chest pain or that Hollywood heart attack where someone clutches their chest and falls to the ground. It doesn't. For millions of Americans, the first symptom of heart disease is death. No warning. No second chances. Michael wasn't some extraordinary case. He represented the walking time bombs among us, successful, seemingly healthy on the outside, dying on the inside. This isn't about miracle cures or rare genetic advantages. This is about what happens when knowledge meets discipline in the battle against our most common killer. I've spent 2 decades studying cardiovascular health, and there's something the medical establishment isn't telling you about heart disease. What's strange is that Michael had everything going for him. Executive position. Personal trainer twice weekly. Annual physicals. How did he end up on an operating table at 52? Most doctors focus on the obvious risk factors: cholesterol, blood pressure, family history. But they're missing 3 critical components that were silently destroying Michael's heart. The first factor nobody warned Michael about: inflammation doesn't show up on standard blood tests. While his cholesterol numbers weren't ideal, they weren't alarming either. But his body was on fire from the inside. It's not just what's in your bloodstream, it's what's happening to your blood vessel walls. Years of cellular inflammation had been roughening his arterial highways, creating the perfect collection points for plaque. But here's where it gets interesting. When Michael's doctor ordered advanced testing, he found something the regular blood work missed: his inflammatory markers were off the charts. His C-reactive protein was 7 times normal levels. But why would inflammation matter more than cholesterol? And why don't standard physicals catch this? The second critical factor: sleep quality destroys heart health faster than almost any other variable. Studies show chronic sleep disruption increases heart attack risk by 48%. It literally ages your cardiovascular system. Michael's sleep tracker revealed the shocking truth: though he was in bed for 7 hours, he was only getting 4.2 hours of actual restorative sleep. The rest was fragmented, shallow, and worthless for recovery. But before I tell you about the third factor, the one that changed everything, you need to understand what was happening in Michael's body every single morning without his knowledge. Every morning at 6 a.m., Michael would slam his alarm, roll over, and immediately check email on his phone. Then he'd jump out of bed, shower, down a large coffee, and rush to work, often skipping breakfast altogether. What he didn't realize was that this morning routine was triggering a hormonal cascade that was literally aging his heart muscle daily. Here's what his doctor never explained: the first 30 minutes after waking represent your body's most vulnerable metabolic state. What you do in this window quite literally programs your nervous system for the entire day. When Michael checked his phone immediately upon waking, he was flooding his system with cortisol, the stress hormone that tightens blood vessels and increases heart rate. Combine that with caffeine on an empty stomach, and he was essentially giving his heart a daily panic attack. His cardiologist was recommending immediate bypass surgery. "There's no time to try lifestyle modifications," he said. "These blockages are too severe." But the night before surgery, Michael's brother, a research scientist in California, sent him a study that would change everything. The study revealed something cardiologists have largely ignored: your heart isn't just responding to what you eat or how you exercise. It's exquisitely sensitive to your daily rhythm and stress patterns. The research showed that certain morning rituals could reduce arterial inflammation by up to 27% in just 14 days. Not through medication, but through precise timing of specific activities that reset your autonomic nervous system. This is where Michael's story takes an unexpected turn. Because what he discovered wasn't some breakthrough drug or experimental procedure. It was a 7-minute morning sequence that contradicted everything he'd been doing for decades. But implementing this knowledge wasn't easy. The first 3 mornings were miserable. His body fought against the new pattern. He was irritable, foggy-headed. He almost abandoned the protocol. Then on day 4, something happened that made him reconsider surgery completely. Michael woke up naturally, 5 minutes before his alarm. For the first time in years, he didn't feel the immediate urge to check his phone. His heart rate remained calm. It was a subtle shift. But it was the first sign his nervous system was rebalancing. The morning ritual had 3 essential components, each targeting a different aspect of cardiovascular inflammation. First, light synchronization. Instead of reaching for his phone, Michael would step outside for 90 seconds of morning sunlight exposure, regardless of weather. This single act reset his circadian rhythm and triggered the production of nitric oxide, your body's natural blood vessel dilator. The timing was critical, it had to be within 10 minutes of waking, before any other stimulation. No screens, no coffee, no conversation. Just pure light entering the retina. Second, respiratory patterning. Michael followed the light exposure with 2 minutes of specific breathing, a pattern of 4-second inhales and 6-second exhales. This 4 to 6 pattern activates the vagus nerve, which controls inflammation throughout the body. Not just any breathing would work, it had to be this precise rhythm to shift his heart into parasympathetic recovery mode. But before I explain the third component, the one his cardiologist later called medically significant, I need to tell you what happened 2 weeks into this protocol. 2 weeks after starting the morning ritual, Michael went in for pre-surgical testing. His blood pressure, which had been 147/92, had dropped to 129/84, still not ideal, but a significant improvement. The cardiologist was cautiously optimistic but insisted the surgery couldn't wait. "These are just numbers on a page," he said. "The blockages are still there." Michael requested a delay, just 30 more days to see if the improvements would continue. Reluctantly, his doctor agreed, though he documented his objection in the medical record. What happened next shocked everyone. When Michael returned home, he discovered something his doctor had missed entirely: his resting heart rate variability, HRV, a key marker of cardiovascular health, had improved by 38%. But here's the twist that changed everything. When Michael's brother analyzed his blood work more carefully, he noticed something peculiar. Michael's inflammatory markers were decreasing far faster than his cholesterol numbers. This revelation completely altered their approach. This wasn't primarily about fat in the bloodstream. This was about the body's inflammatory response to daily stress patterns, something no statin drug could address. And that's when Michael implemented the third and most powerful component of the morning ritual. The third element, thermal contrast therapy. After breathing, Michael would take a 90-second warm shower followed by 30 seconds of cold water. Not ice cold, just cool enough to cause mild discomfort. This simple temperature shift triggered something called hormetic stress, a beneficial stress that strengthens the cardiovascular system similar to how weight training strengthens muscles. Each cold exposure activated the body's cellular cleanup process called autophagy. Think of it as your body's natural detoxification system for damaged arterial cells. But the most powerful technique was the precise sequence: light, then breathing, then thermal contrast. The order mattered as much as the components themselves. Cardiologists dismissed this approach as unproven. "That might help your mood," they said, "but it won't clear blocked arteries." But something remarkable started happening in week 3. Michael's fasting glucose, which had been borderline diabetic at 119, dropped to 94. His triglycerides fell by 31%. His inflammatory markers continued their dramatic decline. Then came the moment of truth. At the 6-week mark, Michael underwent another cardiac CT scan to measure his arterial blockage. His cardiologist expected minimal change, perhaps a 5% improvement at best. The scan revealed something that left the medical team stunned. The 82% blockage in his left anterior descending artery, the infamous widowmaker, had reduced to 68%. To put this in perspective, this level of plaque reduction typically takes years of aggressive statin therapy and dietary intervention. Michael had achieved it in 6 weeks. But the most stunning moment came when they measured his arterial inflammation score. Before I tell you those results, you need to understand what was happening in his bloodstream chemically. When you combine precise circadian entrainment, vagal nerve stimulation, and hormetic stress, you're not just treating symptoms, you're attacking the 4 horsemen of heart disease. Inflammation, insulin resistance, oxidative stress, and autonomic imbalance. Michael's new morning ritual wasn't just making him feel better. It was fundamentally altering his biochemistry from the first moments of consciousness each day. The morning sunlight wasn't just brightening his mood. It was triggering the production of specific proteins that repaired damaged mitochondria, the power plants in every cell that determine how quickly your cardiovascular system ages. The breathing pattern wasn't just calming his mind. It was activating his vagus nerve, which directly controls inflammatory responses throughout the body. Each structured breath was essentially turning down the flame that was cooking his arteries. The thermal contrast wasn't just invigorating. It was training his blood vessels in vascular flexibility, expanding and contracting in response to temperature rather than remaining rigid and inflexible. When the doctor measured Michael's arterial inflammation, he found it had decreased by 43%, a result so dramatic the lab initially flagged it as a potential error. The cardiologist actually said, "If I hadn't seen the scans myself, I wouldn't believe this was possible in such a short time frame." But here's what the doctor didn't know yet: Michael had added one more element to his routine. Something controversial that many cardiologists still resist. While the morning ritual was rebuilding Michael's cardiovascular health, he'd added something else: strategic fasting. Not extreme caloric restriction or multi-day water fasts. Just a simple adjustment to his eating window. He limited all food consumption to an 8-hour period each day, creating a daily 16-hour fasting window. The theory was straightforward: your digestive system and your repair systems cannot operate at full capacity simultaneously. By creating a daily fasting period, he was giving his body uninterrupted time to repair arterial damage. The timing was critical. His last meal had to end at least 3 hours before bedtime, allowing his body to transition to repair mode before sleep. His cardiologist later admitted this timing strategy might have been as important as what Michael was eating. "When you eat might matter as much as what you eat," he noted in Michael's file. But before I give you the exact protocol that transformed Michael's heart health, and could help someone you love, I need to address the uncomfortable truth about why these simple interventions aren't standard practice in cardiology today. Our medical system excels at crisis intervention but struggles with prevention. It's designed to rescue you after the heart attack, not prevent it in the first place. Michael had received excellent care from dedicated professionals. But not one of them had assessed his morning routine, sleep quality, or eating patterns. They measured his blood and took images of his heart, but no one asked about the first hour of his day. And here's the most troubling part: what happened to Michael isn't rare. It's happening right now to millions of Americans who are being told to take medications while their daily habits continue destroying their cardiovascular system. The good news is you don't need advanced medical training to implement what saved Michael from surgery. You just need consistency and the right sequence. Here's the exact morning ritual that transformed Michael's heart health. First, the light reset. Upon waking, before checking your phone or consuming anything, get outside for 90 seconds to 5 minutes of natural daylight exposure. In winter or rainy days, position yourself near a window. The key is natural light entering your retina before any artificial light or screens. Second, the breathing bridge. Return inside and perform 2 minutes of structured breathing. Inhale for 4 seconds, exhale for 6 seconds. That's 12 breaths per minute. This activates your parasympathetic nervous system and begins reducing inflammation. Third, the thermal training. Take a comfortable shower that ends with 30 seconds of cool, not freezing, water. Start with just 5 seconds if this is challenging, building up to 30 seconds over time. This trains your vascular system in flexibility and resilience. Fourth, the strategic delay. Wait 30 to 45 minutes before consuming caffeine. This prevents the morning cortisol spike from combining with caffeine, which can increase blood pressure by up to 14 points in sensitive individuals. And finally, the element that shocked Michael's medical team, the eating window. Consume all daily food within an 8-hour period, with your final meal ending at least 3 hours before bedtime. The entire morning sequence takes just 7 minutes but reprograms your nervous system for the next 24 hours. Cardiovascular health isn't just about avoiding death. It's about maintaining the energy, clarity, and capacity to live fully. Michael didn't just avoid surgery. He reclaimed a quality of life he'd forgotten was possible. His energy at 4 p.m. was as strong as at 9 a.m. His mental clarity sharpened. His sleep deepened. There's a profound truth that guided Michael through this journey: your heart responds more to how you live each day than to what you know about health. 6 months after his scheduled surgery date, the surgery he never had, Michael climbed Mount Whitney with his college-aged son. At 14,505 feet, standing on the highest peak in the contiguous United States, he took a photo and texted it to his cardiologist. The man who'd been told he had the heart of a 75-year-old was now outperforming hikers half his age. If you or someone you love is concerned about heart health, here's what Michael's story teaches us: don't wait for a crisis. Don't assume your routine physicals are catching everything. And don't underestimate the power of how you start your day. Begin with light. Structure your breathing. Train your vascular system. Time your nutrition strategically. The changes won't be overnight. Michael had discouraging days even in week 5. The path isn't perfect, but it's powerful. Remember, your heart is listening to how you treat it in the first moments of consciousness each morning. It's never too late to start speaking a language it can respond to. In our next video, how she eliminated chronic pain after 15 years of suffering, the 9-minute evening routine doctors never prescribe, and the one most recommend against that might surprise you. The research is compelling and often overlooked in standard dietary advice. Until then, remember Michael's simple wisdom: your heart keeps the beat, but you conduct the orchestra. Start small. Stay consistent. Watch what happens. This isn't just about avoiding a heart attack. It's about reclaiming the vitality you've forgotten is possible.